Welcome to the O'Connor Elder Law channel. I'm your host, Melissa O'Connor. Today I wanted to address the topic of financial exploitation of the elderly. Unfortunately, a theme that sometimes rears its ugly head in my office are concerns from loved ones or neighbors. They'll call and ask, what can I do when I think that my loved one has been taken advantage of financially? What remedies are there? Because of their advanced age, they think that this other people whittled their way into this person's lives and may be taking advantage of them financially. So one of the things that I like to share is to make sure, number one, that when you approach the person, the elderly person that you believe is being exploited, that you don't do it with coming from a place of shame, where you make accusations where they feel like, how could I be so stupid, right? And then they may be in a position where they hide, right? They hide the fact that they probably were taken advantage of financially, mostly because they don't want to be embarrassed, they don't want to be shamed, and they don't want to lose independence. They think, oh no, if my son or daughter realize that I allowed this person to rip me off, they are going to step in and take away my independence, and I'm no longer going to have the life I want, and therefore I am going to hide or cover up or otherwise avoid an uncomfortable conversation and not have to face some sort of shame. So number one, I encourage people, if they're going to have this conversation, if they haven't had it already with the person they suspect is being taken advantage of, is one, do not come from a accusatory standpoint or one where you would have shamed that person for being taken advantage of. Nobody likes to be ripped off, and nobody likes it rubbed in their face that they've been ripped off. So, and sometimes that person really, really likes or feels an attachment to the person who's ripping them off. So my first suggestion is to come from a place of gentleness and a place of inquiry to get clear as to what is really going on. Of course, another number one, I suppose, would be a call to the elder abuse hotline in Florida. Anybody can report elder abuse. Certain people are mandatory reporters, and but anybody else who suspects elder abuse, which includes financial, just taking advantage of people financially, that is considered elder abuse in Florida. And the hotline here in Florida is 1-800-96-ABUSE. That's 1-800-96-ABUSE. which is 1-800-962-2873. You could make that call and the state will send somebody out to investigate. I say that, but I also warn you that they don't have that many investigators, and many times they don't get to things as quick as you may wish for them to. So I wouldn't tell you to avoid having the conversation with your loved one. Just rely on this abuse hotline, particularly for financial abuse. And with that, I would say step two, after you've had this conversation, is to make sure that you monitor that relationship and put in place some sort of safeguards as possible. Should you have a power of attorney already executed from your loved one, whether you be the agent or somebody else that you know is not taking advantage of them financially and is a true trusted advisor, that they can utilize that power of attorney to step in and put safeguards in place, so that way bank accounts may be more monitored, maybe have new debit cards issued if you think that your loved one has compromised their debit card information or their banking information. Having that changed might be appropriate, and having certain safeguards put in place with maybe some sort of electronic monitoring where you get the agent would get an alert if monies were removed from the account that aren't the normal bills to be paid and aren't the normal expenditures. So that way the person who may be exploiting your loved one realizes that they're being monitored, and they just stop their behavior because they don't want to be found out or risk criminal charges. The second thing that I would recommend a family do if taking control of the finances and the conversation does not work would be in Florida. We have a mechanism, a statute, in which you can petition the court for injunction for the protection against the exploitation of a vulnerable adult. There's statutory definition of who is a vulnerable adult, but this is a mechanism that is available to you to ensure that your elderly loved one has the protection that they need. And of course, a last resort also would be an application for guardianship. However, that again would be a process in which your loved one would lose some of their independence, and then the courts would be involved in the supervision of their finances and their life, depending on the nature and extent of the guardianship. So I hope that this information has been helpful to you. This is really a highlights of some of the conversations that I have with people when they call my office with concerns about exploitation, particularly financial exploitation of the elderly. But again, I encourage you not to ignore it, and but not to use shame-based conversations if possible, but rather I believe that there's more success when we are able to have loving and meaningful conversations where we can dig into why certain things are happening, and also maybe explore why they feel that relationship is a positive relationship for them, and we can suggest alternatives that would be healthier. So again, if this information has been helpful to you, I ask that you like and share, and thank you for joining me.